If you're building your business the same way everyone else is, you're already irrelevant. Most entrepreneurs won't see what's about to kill their business, which is why we have you here today. The truth is, innovation isn't optional anymore. You have to execute and you have to disrupt at a high level.
It's not that the government that's doing this. The government isn't changing what's happening. It's us.
Just a few years ago, we were just all Googling everything.
Right.
So now the verb is gonna be, let me chat GPT it.
If you are trying to run away from AI, if you are like, no, screw AI, FAI, here's the truth about what's happening with AI.
This is Built Different, where we talk about how businesses are built and what you can do differently as you build your business.
And we're not talking about just disruption. We're showing you how to build different so you don't get left behind. In today's conversation, we're discussing what's happening right now and how businesses, even tech giants like Google, have to prepare themselves for a major shift and what you can do to disrupt your market with the framework that we use for our own business.
The truth is, innovation isn't optional anymore. You have to execute and you have to disrupt at a high level. So today we're going to be talking about how to properly disrupt and literally what we use, as Sara just mentioned, in our business to disrupt. Just last week, a senior Apple executive stated that Google traffic on the Safari web browser has gone down for the last 2 months straight. And ChatGPT, Perplexity are all AI tools that are responsible for that. So all of these things are happening right now. It's changing your behavior and it's leading to some results that truthfully Google might not like. While Google is in the middle of all of these things that are happening on the side of law where they're talking about a monopoly, they're also losing money. After that comment from the Apple executive, Google's parent company, Alphabet, lost $250 billion in market cap in one day.
What we find really interesting is it's not that the government that's doing this. The government isn't changing what's happening. It's us. It's consumers. It's creators. It's entrepreneurs. And people like you and me choosing different tools that serve us different.
And you know, the crazy part, and as we sort of loosen up here a little bit, that's what I want us to do.
Okay, let's disrupt in real time.
So OpenAI released a statement that said there are 400 million users of ChatGPT, and I'm sure that number will fluctuate a little bit and go even higher as our behavior changes.
And that's weekly users, by the way.
It's weekly users?
It's weekly users.
400 million.
Weekly users.
That's crazy, because what that means is just a few years ago, we were just all Googling everything.
Right. So
now the verb is going to be, let me chat GPT it. And it's funny as I think about sports and all the things that were happening when I was a kid. You're like, oh, I just moused on them. But that's the sort of language that we start to speak as a result of what's happening. And so when we talk about disruption and all of these things that are going on in our lives, our literal behavior is changing. And we sort of think about it as entrepreneurs, what can we do that's different? And a lot of times what we find ourselves doing is just copying what all of our competitors are doing, copying what we see that's out there. Oh, that's working, so let me do that. But the truth is, what really separates you is being different, disrupting. And that's the whole point of us having this conversation. So
I think something important, if you are trying to run away from AI, if you are like, no, screw AI, FAI, we're just not doing this, or I'm gonna stick to the old traditional way. Here's the truth about what's happening with AI. It's not a fad, it is a lifestyle shift. People are choosing faster answers, they're looking for better context, they're trying to solve real problems faster, and they're not doing it on traditional search engines anymore. Because that's where the world is going, this isn't a trend anymore. This is what's happening right now. It's not 5 years ago, it's not 5 years from now. This is where we are. And Tilmon, I wanna talk more about, I wanna talk about like where we go from here, what's next?
So because of that, let's dive right into the framework, because if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably gave us the first 30 seconds before you clicked off and went to something else. So let's dive quickly into give you guys what you came here for in the first place. So we talked about disrupt, and a literal acronym that we use in our business when we're trying to do something differently. So the first one, I'm going to give you the D. The D is
depending on how you look at it. My bad, sorry. I'll be serious today. I think.
So
we might be able to cut this out.
no, it's staying in here. So let me give you the D. The D is define and decide the problem you're going to solve.
Yeah.
With marketing, sales, any of the things that you identify that are part of your business, you have to decide the problem you're going to solve.
Yeah.
As you approach anything, even if you're making content, as a brand, as an entrepreneur, as a creator, you have to define and decide the problem that you're going to solve and who you're going to solve it for. So I think a lot of times we're creating content because it's funny, we're creating content just because, oh, I have this idea, but what is the problem that you're solving? And that's even thinking at a higher level, what brands have to do. If Nike decides they're going to create a new shoe, they have to decide what problem they're going to solve. Are they solving it for the person who's a marathon runner? Are they solving it for a person who's a trainer? Are they solving it for a person who just wants to go on for a walk every day? Or maybe you go get Skechers. I don't know. But the reality is, decide the problem that you're going to solve, who you're going to solve it for, and how you're going to solve it. That's how you properly begin the process of disruption.
And something that we see often with clients or folks who want to work with us, and even just some people who are complaining about why their business isn't working. And the first question that I ask them is, what problem are you solving? And their response is too darn vague. You don't actually know what pain point you're obsessed with. 69% of people don't trust brand ads. They don't trust the ads that they're seeing on social media. I think it's like somewhere where 76% of folks don't trust AI-based content right now. So you have to determine and be very specific about the problem that you're solving and what problem are you obsessed with. And for example, because we talk about stories all the time, when the co-founder and CEO of Snapchat, Evan Spiegel, I think is his name, when he decided to do Snapchat, they actually had a company, him and his co-founder Bobby, had a product prior that they wanted to do when they were 19. And it was about fixing the system and helping more seniors in high school get into college as college freshmen. It was called Freshman something. You'll have to Google it or we'll put it up here somewhere.
No, we won't. No, we won't.
And the truth is, even though it did solve a very real problem, they weren't passionate about it because it wasn't their problem. They were already at Stanford. And so they knew that even if they were able to onboard 1 million high school seniors, once that process was over, you would have to go and find and onboard 1 million more users again and find more seniors. So you would have to have the connections with different high schools and counselors and college counselors. And it's just too much damn work. And so they weren't passionate about it. They spent 18 months and a lot of effing money to realize this is not the direction that they wanted to go. So then their next question was, what problem did they want to solve for themselves? And the problem was they wanted to send pictures, but not in a way that was permanent like it was on an Instagram feed back in 2011. And so, or in the early days of YouTube. And so they decided they were going to call it an app. And they were going to build this app, and it was called Peekaboo. And that didn't work either. They changed the name, they figured out the system, and they realized that this is what they were passionate about. And this was a problem that they were obsessed with. Even when Facebook offered them $3 billion to buy it, they were able to say no because they were obsessed with the process and the problem that they were solving and who they were solving it for and why they were solving it.
But here's the next thing. I just gave you the D, so now I'm going to give you the I.
That's great. Wait, can we mention one more thing? And I want to make sure we talk about this, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Something that you say a lot that I want to give you credit for, and I want you to speak on this because it's so important. People are tired of being sold. People are tired of traditional selling.
Yeah.
And part of the thing when you are in business and you're a founder, you're a creator, is what are the consequences if this problem is not solved? Why is that important?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the salespeople that are out there, the issue is that you're trying to make the commission. You're trying to do something for yourself. But the real approach to sales is actually doing it for the people that you're working with, the people that you're working for. So again, sales is not what you do to someone, it's what you do for someone and with someone. So as you go through the process of selling, what you're doing is you're identifying the problems that the people have. And sometimes, even if you have a great product, it could be a product that's not for the person that you want to sell something to. So the best thing you can do is walk away from that sale, because eventually what happens is you put yourself in a position where you promise somebody something and you can't deliver on those results because that product does not actually solve the problem that they wanted to solve. Even at the beginning of your conversations, let's say you're doing a cold call, that's an opportunity for you and the potential client to identify if there is a problem that's worth a deeper conversation. So going through that sales process from beginning to end, it's about identifying what the problem is, if there is a problem, and if your tools or if you are capable of solving that problem in an efficient and effective way, oftentimes better than someone else can solve it. Did that answer your question properly, or were you?
You did. Now I'll let you, now that you gave the people the D, now you can give them the I.
I'm gonna give you the I. So, this is fun. So the next part of the disrupt framework is I, which is identify what makes you irreplaceable. And identifying what makes you irreplaceable, some of you right now are probably thinking about Beyonce, because you must not know about me. I can find another you in a minute.
That's a sermon, by the way. That is a whole sermon.
I could do a sermon if you want me to.
No, thank you.
No.
Maybe another day.
So identify what makes you irreplaceable. And what I mean is, whether it's your onboarding process, whether it's how you treat someone during the sales process of buying your product or service, what makes you irreplaceable? How powerful is your product? One of the questions that I ask a lot is, what are you creating that's different? So you have to take that approach in literally every single thing you do. I'm gonna show up and do everything possible. As I mentioned before, if I'm doing something, I want to be the best at it. The only reason LeBron James or Patrick Mahomes can say that they're the best at something is because how much effort they put in, how much they know about themselves that makes them the best at what they do. Now, I'm not saying, okay, I made it here so I can stop right now. You have to take those shots. You have to put in the reps. You have to continue to show up. I was just talking to one of my salespeople here recently, and he asked me a question about cold calling and why we continue to do cold calls. And he was like, well, do you think there's any other way that we can connect with people? I said, sure. But what do you think that other people are doing? They're doing the same kind of outreach that you're doing. They're reaching out on LinkedIn. They're reaching out on Instagram. They're doing cold calls. They're doing all of the same things. So it's not about what you're doing. Yes, that's important. It's also about how you do it. You have to do it skillfully. You have to show up a little bit different than everybody else is showing up. So yes, it's only a part of your process. It's not the entire process. What is it that makes you irreplaceable? Identify that, and that's going to take you to the level that you want to go.
Let's talk about purple cow, because you mentioned that all the time.
Yep.
What does that mean? How do we become purple cows?
So if you're unfamiliar with at least in my mind, one of the greatest marketers of all time, Seth Godin.
The godfather of marketing.
The godfather of email marketing specifically.
He is.
So if you do email marketing in your business, you better thank Seth Godin for that. So he has this thing where he talks about the purple cow. It's a book. You may want to purchase it on Amazon, and this is by no means I'm affiliated or associated with Seth Godin at all, but I'm just talking about how powerful his marketing is. So say for instance, you are going on a trip. You're going on like this 10-hour family trip. You got you, your wife, and your 2 kids with you, or you, your husband, and your 2 kids with you, or however you see this. And you all are traveling, and you start to play I Spy, for example. And you decide you're going to play I Spy, and you're looking for cow. You're on this path, and I promise you, after the first hour of your 7-year-old yelling in the back, hey, I see a cow, you're probably going to be sick of cows. You're probably going to be sick of playing I Spy, so now you're going to start to look for something else. But let's say 5 hours into that same road trip, on the side of the road, you see a purple cow. Everybody in that vehicle is going to identify that there's a purple cow out there. You have to take that mentality over to business. What is it that makes you special? How do you disrupt the psychology of the way people engage on social media? How do you disrupt the psychology of how people engage with creatives and ads? How do you become a purple cow in your market?
I think I'm going to add 2 things before we move on to the next part of our framework here. I hear oftentimes where founders will say an area or a business or a niche or creators for that matter say that something is oversaturated. And the truth is, and I know you like to say sometimes it's not that your content is bad, it's just not different. And yes, that's very, very, very true. It's very true. Part of the problem is everyone is rinsing and repeating the same trends. We're repeating the same content. And because everyone is, a lot of people are pulling from ChatGPT. And sometimes if you don't know how to use the prompts well, because AI is great and ChatGPT is great, but a lot of it is based on the user and who the person is that's writing the copy and writing the prompts for ChatGPT. And that's how you get the best information and best use out of AI. But if you don't have a specific voice where I know I can go to Sara for X or I can go to Tilmon for Y, and if you can't show people results, if you can't create a lane for yourself and separate yourself from all the noise, it's only crowded at the bottom. I know we talked about this in the last episode. It's only crowded down at the bottom, but you have to figure out how to be different and how to separate yourself and how to make sure that you make yourself unforgettable. I think it's Wisdom, what is his name? Wisdom, the fashion guy, the guy who does like the fashion.
You're asking me a question about a fashion guy who doesn't sound like he is creating fashion for me.
No. However, he is so fired because he created a lane that is just so specific and just so phenomenal. I think he just said too, like he makes around $4 million, or he's already made $4 million this year. He made a few million dollars last year. But it's like, you have to find the space that makes you different from everyone else. And then the next part is the S. He gave you the D and the I. I'm going to give you the S. And the S is simplify your message. I meet creators and I ask them, what do you do? And then they give me a laundry list of what they think they do. And I've already tapped out. I stopped listening. People tune you out. That is the truth. You should be able to simplify your message. If you are a founder and you cannot simply and easily explain what you do, you are forgettable. No one will remember you. One of the things that irritates me the most, especially now that I'm in VC and private equity and I'm in very exclusive rooms and tables, and I get to the tables and I think that it's super special and it's unique and they're going to use this crazy jargon and I'm not going to know what's happening. And then I sit there and I'm like, oh, none of you are actually that smart. You're not smarter than me. You just have simplified your message and you know who and what you're selling to. It should be very, very simple. And I'm going to give you an example. I remember the first time I sat in a VC room and this gentleman was trying to explain to me what venture capital is and how it works and what they invest in, how they choose what they, and it's like a whole 45-minute spiel. And to be honest, I could have put it in 2 sentences. One of the ways that I figure out how to angel invest, how an index fund works, how I make decisions when it comes to angel investing is compare it to dating, compare it to social media, compare it to the things that are already happening in your life. Most things can be transferred. I do a whole series on how investing is like dating. If I wouldn't date a man who spent a certain kind of money and I wouldn't invest in a certain kind of way, then those things don't work for me. If there's a specific kind of guy that I like and I have a type, I only invest in things that I understand. So if I don't understand the man, I'm not dating the man. Figure out what works for you and simplify the process. Simplify how you explain what your company does, what it solves, who it's for, and I should be able to get it in 2 sentences. When a founder comes to me and they expect me to invest, or they want me to look over their pitch deck before they go out and raise funds, and they start talking and it's been more than 2 minutes, I start going like this. And I'm not trying to be rude. I just don't care about what you said now.
Wrap it up, B.
Wrap it up. Tell me what you do, how you do it, who you do it for, the problem that you solve, and why I should care.
Yeah. Turn something that's complex and make it clear.
Yep.
Let's simplify what we're saying.
Yes.
Turn a complex problem and make it clear. Create clarity for the person that you solve it for.
Because people don't buy into confusion. And don't date the man that gives you confusion either. Don't invest in the companies that give you confusion. I'm just saying.
How did this all become relationship advice?
I don't know. It's just the easiest thing.
That's hilarious.
I know my girlies resonate.
I believe you. I'm
If he
just
gives you,
saying.
the Lord is not the master of confusion. So if you have confusion and the confusion is confusioning, you know to get out of the way.
I'm confused about what you just said. So we're going to move on to the next thing. So the R. So we gave you the D-I-S. We're going to give you the R. So with the R, it's reimagine the norm. There's this thing that's popular on social media right now, and I think is hilarious because I also feel like if I was in the situation, I'll be capable of taking down this gorilla. So,
come on,
all jokes aside,
with you today.
What's popular on social media right now is the 100 men versus the one gorilla. And
I almost just cursed.
everybody is talking about who would win this fight. Oh, you feel like if there was 100 men, they couldn't beat this one gorilla, they would tire him out. Like, bro, the gorilla will crack your back with the bite of his teeth.
Right.
He will dominate every single one of you.
He will
I'm sure he might
you.
be tired. But the likelihood of you beating that gorilla,
no.
99 of you will get eliminated. I will show up as Mr. 101 after all of these things have happened. So why is that important? I'm saying reimagine the norm. If the norm is 100 men showing up to fight this gorilla, I want you to identify what's happening in your market, your industry. See what everybody else is doing. Do the exact opposite of that. Even if you just take that approach, that's going to help you create some level of separation from everybody else and what they're doing. Let's say, for instance, if you are a camera person, a videographer, for example, and you know that everybody who does some level of videography, they don't know how to sell. So if my job as a videographer is to go into the same arena and there's 100 other videographers, if I can tell that those guys don't know how to sell, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna spend some time learning how to sell. I'm gonna spend some time learning how to properly market myself, because that's what's going to help me create some separation between myself and those videographers. I'm gonna think about the problems that I can solve that other people can't potentially solve. I'm gonna identify for people, okay, if you like this particular edit, what is it about this edit that you feel like may drive some more traffic to your business? I'm gonna identify those things, reimagining the norm to create some separation between myself and what everybody else is doing. Now look back at your man, and look at me, and look at your man, and look back at me. I don't know why I just did that, but hey, we're here. I'm creating some separation.
That was crazy. I'm gonna give a business example. When Howard Schultz, he was not a founder of Starbucks. However, he realized that there were two Starbucks and they only had coffee. And they didn't grind the coffee, they only sold coffee beans. And the truth is, it wasn't the most craziest idea. He didn't have, it wasn't a special idea, it was just different. He reimagined the norm at the time, which was coffee shops selling coffee beans. And they didn't actually sell drinks. And so what he did was create an experience that you could do over and over and over again by reimagining, like, hey, I feel something when I go to Starbucks. I feel rich. When I have the, when you shake the ice, if you're a woman, you know how that feels, and you walk around and you hear the girlies like with the ice. That didn't exist. It was an experience. The frappuccinos, the macchiatos, the different variations. Those were all things where he reimagined something as simple as coffee. We talked about Snapchat. They reimagined something as simple as social media and a photo that was being taken. And then I think he said they only have 9, their dev team is only 9. And so it's continuously ideating and evolving and trying and testing and creating something new. And we were talking about this yesterday with Instagram. They're always testing something, and we'll talk about this later. But even with Instagram, they reimagined something that should have been as simple as just taking a photo, and it's continuously changed. So how do you, Sarah, Jenny or Jim or Bob or Joe or whatever, Tyrone, how do you change how your industry communicates? How do you change how you deliver it? And how do you change the positional value that you give?
I'm trying to get canceled, ain't I?
Slightly.
So let's take a step back really quick, because we've gone down this framework a little bit. So let's review where we've been.
Yes.
So the D, define and decide the problem that you're trying to solve. The I, identify what makes you irreplaceable. The S, simplify your message. The R, reimagine the norm. The U, unleash the proof early. So here's the thing. A lot of times on social media or in business, what helps us is not the fact that what we say about ourselves, it's also what other people say about us. Think about any time you're thinking about trying a new restaurant. What's the first thing you do?
Yelp it.
I'm gonna go look at the Yelp reviews. I'm gonna see what other people think about it. I'm gonna go along this journey where I'm looking at all the pictures of the food. Hey, I think I'm gonna try that mac and cheese. I think I'm gonna try this. Whatever it is, you wanna see the proof before you actually put yourself in a position where I think I may wanna try this place, but they only have 3.7 stars. And we know if you go look at some Yelp reviews, everybody is looking at 4.5 or higher. Even if it's 4.2, let me see if I can find something else. Let me see if I can find something else. So unleash the proof early. So if you're in a market where you're beta testing some stuff, you probably want to identify, okay, what works for this group of people before I push it out to some other people and share that. If you're on social media as a creator, you want to push, let's say you want to share with people your journey. So as Sarah and I have built several different things, we're sharing with people along the way, okay, this is what's happening. These are some of the struggles that we've dealt with along the way. Here's what you don't want to deal with, or here's what you want to think about if you're going down this path. So you want to constantly unleash that proof, which gives you the ability to decide if it makes sense for you to continue doing whatever it is that you're doing. And you give people an opportunity to see, hey, this guy's human. He lost some weight. I was on social media a couple of days ago, and this guy was 596 pounds. He's in the gym. He's on the squat rack. He's doing squats. He's doing plyometrics. He's doing all of these things, but he's taking people on his journey. And what happened in that process, he went on vacation and put on 10 pounds. But I'm seeing this entire process, and it makes me even more curious to see how his process goes. So with that same psychology, how do you do that on social media? How do you do that with your team? How do you build with your team in order for all of you to go through that process together in order to get better and make a better product or service?
You know, I mentioned Snapchat earlier, and the trend that we're starting to see right now is more billionaires on podcasts, which is crazy because it feels very backwards. You've already made it. You don't need to be on anyone's damn podcast. You don't need to be talking about anything. And something that Evan said in an interview that he did with Stephen Bartlett on Diary of a CEO is he said that now it's not brand forward anymore. It is founder forward. It is person forward. And so people want to hear and see from the founders. They want to see the process. They want to see the behind the scenes. They want to know why they should continue to be committed to your brand, why they should be committed to buy your purchase. I think we overvalue our own spending, but we undervalue the importance of other people's spending. Like when people are spending their money, they worked really effing hard. Yeah. And so when someone is choosing to spend 10 or 15 or 20 or $500 to $5,000 with you, they want to know that they are committed and that you as the founder or the creator, before someone hits follow, even something as simple as the follow button, they need to be committed to you. The stat used to be where people needed 7 to 8 touch points, and I think now when we talked about yesterday, what is it, 15 to like 20 touch points? It's
like 17 touch points.
Yeah, so that people need before they buy, before they spend their money with you, before they follow you. So we talked about value, we talked about being different, we talked about reimagining the norm, but also like build in public. I have reinvented myself several times over in the last 6 years. Sara Lovestyle's changed a lot. It wasn't even Sara Lovestyle 6 years ago. It was Embracing Beauty by Sara. I went from the beauty space. I've done food. I started creating food content in 2018. I have been in business since 2019. I went into venture capital in 2020, 2021. So my evolution, I've allowed people to see, and so they want to come along on this journey. And even if I don't really talk about my personal life, my life has changed. I'm now a lost mom, and people are coming along and joining this journey. You get to choose how public you want to be with your wins and losses, but people want to see the documentation of your wins. They want you to share their case studies. They want to see the transformations. If you are a fitness coach and I don't see any transformations, what in the world would make you think that I would want to spend $500 with you on a coaching program? How could you train me and I don't see you training anybody? How can you train me and I don't see you training yourself? How can you be a mindset coach and I don't see what mindset coaching you're doing for yourself or for your clients or your customers? I think someone that's There's two people who have really done it well. There's a lot, but there's two in particular that are coming to mind. Vanessa Lau is actually someone who's a business coach and a mindset coach, and she's been doing this very successfully. I think she has over 900,000 subscribers on YouTube. She did business, and then she kind of got burnt out and made this shift with her and her fiance, and they launched a boba brand. And they were building in public, and somewhere along the way they realized this wasn't working. They needed to make a shift, and they became more passionate about boba. They wanted to go study, I don't know if it was Vietnam or somewhere, but they wanted to go study the art of boba and the art of tea. And they took us along this journey because they documented all of it. So when they came back for a rebrand, they were scared that, heaven forbid, nobody buys this anymore, or they were gone for too long. But because they had documented the process, by the time they came back and they showed us who and the what and the why and the tastings and what they liked and what they didn't like, everyone was so committed to the journey that by the time it rebranded and launched, they were selling out because we got to see the process. We got to choose which boba brands we thought we liked or which boba flavors we liked, and we got to choose and watch them sample, and they just gave us an opportunity to even decide like what color brands they should have. I have a girlfriend of mine who had a fitness line. She let us pick which styles we liked, which colors we liked. So now I'm committed because I'm like, sis, I had a hand in that, bloop, purchasing. And that's what works. You cannot be afraid to launch in public. You can't be afraid to showcase in public. Take us on the journey with you. People no longer care if you just drop a brand, regardless how beautiful or great or strategic or how tasty your product is. No matter, the best doesn't matter. Take people on the journey with you.
That was so strong. I want you to keep talking, but I'm going to do real quick. The P is position yourself. Make your offer so good that people won't shut up about it. Create an experience that people, after a year from now, they're still talking about it. Make it a core. What do you say all the time? Make it a core life experience or a core moment.
Yeah.
Make it that, so when people are sharing with you, okay, this is what happened, you should go here, and this is why. I want you to share an experience that you could think about really quickly that was so memorable that you are still talking about it today.
Something that I did for myself that people are still talking about, that I'm still talking about, was in 2019, right before the pandemic, which COVID messed me up because I was supposed to do a 12-city tour. In 2019, I think it was November, late October, November, I did a pop-up. I cooked all the food. I had two other chefs that helped me, and I created this experience in Atlanta. And I did it in this mansion. There was a pool in the center of the house. Inside the house, the decor looked like a wedding. It was a 10 out of 10 LEB events, by the way. I don't usually do free shout outs, but shout out to Ellie.
We're taking it out. No, I'm joking.
But we created this experience that even 6 years later, people are still talking about. They're still talking about, hey, if you do another pop-up, make sure you come back to Atlanta. Hey, when my pop-up, I did Super Bowl, again, right before the pandemic, people are talking about, hey, if you ever do another pop-up and you're cooking, make sure I get an invite. Create experiences that years later people can't shut up about. Is that what you meant?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure I have more, but
because you're constantly, the idea, again, the P in all of this is positioning yourself. Right. You're constantly positioning yourself by the actions that you take. You're positioning yourself by continually showing up. We talked about how a lot of people are just not visible. Right. They're hiding themselves. They're not showing up in the areas that they need to do in order to execute at the level that they need for their business. Position yourself by doing. Position yourself by learning. Position yourself by taking action. Position yourself by creating experiences that are unforgettable for the people and all the stuff that you do, so people can keep talking about it, so they can show up for you when you don't have to. The word of mouth is also marketing, is literally the best form of marketing, in my opinion, when people are talking about you when you're not in those rooms. Hey, if I'm having somebody who wants to throw a pop-up and they don't know what to do and I don't know what to do, guess who I'm gonna call now? I'm calling Sara, because she's positioned herself as a person who has the ability to create an experience at a pop-up that other people simply cannot do. She's identified what made her irreplaceable. See what I'm doing here? She's defined the problem that she is capable of solving and who she's solving it for. And she's simplified the message. I know I did that a little bit out of order, but she has positioned herself with the ability to disrupt for those reasons.
And something that I want to make sure that I add that's important. Actually, two things before I get to that point. The other thing too is like we have clients who no longer work with us, who still talk about us, who still recommend clients to us because of how good their journey was with us.
And there was just projects we were on.
Projects.
Yeah, like simple projects we were on, and they talk about the experience of working with us and also referring us to other people just because of that experience. And it's funny because we're talking about creating an experience and we haven't talked about the experiences that we've created as a company.
Right.
But I mean, to that end, some of the people that we worked with on the film side, like they're like, I'm gonna find a way to work with you. I'm gonna find a way to bring you on to the next project that I'm doing. And it's not that we're consistently seeking out every single client. A lot of these people are referred to us based on the work that we've done before. So I think about all of these things so far, this defining and deciding the problem that you want to solve, identifying what makes you irreplaceable, simplifying your message, reimagining the norm, unleashing the proof early, and positioning yourself. The last one, test, iterate, scale. Every single company that you're familiar with, every single company that you use, every single brand that you use, they're constantly testing things. From early stage startups to Google, to Apple, to Instagram. All of these companies are constantly testing. They're iterating, and sometimes they do it with a small sample size of people. At the companies that I worked for before, what we would do is we would identify a group of customers who use our products really well, and once we wanted to unleash something new, we would have them use it first. Then we would make the size a little bit larger. So let's say we started with 100 clients. The next test, we would push it out to 1,000. We would get that feedback. We would test it, iterate it, and then scale it to a larger customer base or to the entire customer base. You have to take that same psychology, use it for your business. Hey, I want to try this new edit if I'm an editor. Hey, I think I want to try this new service if I have a service-based business, or I want to push this new service out. I want to try this new product, and I want to try this new color on my clients if I'm a hairdresser. I want to introduce this new skincare line within my beauty supply store, or whatever it may be. You're constantly testing so you can iterate, so you can scale and push it out to more people. We were having this conversation recently.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, before I do that, I'm gonna let you share it so I can share with them what my thought was.
And I'm gonna hurt people's feelings real quick because I like to do that in every episode. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Test the bold version, not the safe one. Safe is boring. Everybody is being safe. Nobody wants to move the line. Nobody wants to really thread the needle. So when you can, if you have an idea, choose the boldest one, even when it comes to content. And this is something more on the last thing that we were talking about. When you are baking in virality, when you are choosing virality, when you are choosing the kind of content you're going to make, when you're choosing what to test and iterate and scale, it is with intention. It's not on accident. We're choosing the sounds that we use, when we're choosing the copy that we're using, when we're creating the product. It's not on accident. When we chose to release these episodes and launch BYOB, it's because we wanted to do it differently. We knew that there weren't that many voices in our industry. Sure, it's oversaturated again at the bottom, but we continued to test this behind the scenes. We tested it with our clients. We tested it with our friends who are business owners and entrepreneurs. We tested it with creators who are entrepreneurs. We tested it. We iterated over and over and over again. And then we launched because we knew we could scale it because there were people who needed to hear what we had to say. So that's the first part.
Let me jump in here really quick. And I know I was supposed to share something with you, and then you were supposed to share something with me, but I'm gonna take it back really quick. So as you're thinking, we talked a lot about content so far, because a large part of what we do from a marketing perspective, we're sharing content, and it's not just what's on social media as an in-feed thing, creating ad creative, doing all of those things. But one of the things I ask myself when I'm about to share something, is it scary to share this? What do other people feel when they see this piece of content? How are other people supposed to feel when they see this piece of content? So if I know that I'm going to share something, the chances of it going viral, I don't necessarily care about that, but the likelihood of it going viral is based on how I feel when I'm about to share it. Am I a little bit fearful of what other people are going to say when I share this piece of content? If I ask myself that question and the answer is yes, I'm still going to share it, but I'm going to share it because I know that it's going to create some conversations. I know it's going to create some engagement, and it's going to share how I feel about a certain thing, and it might be a little bit polarizing. Just think about all the stuff that Donald Trump says. It's polarizing in all types of ways. It's going to create conversations because what he's saying is going to segment a group of people, whether it's on one side or the other. If it doesn't scare you, it's probably not worth sharing.
Facts. So I'm gonna go back to what he was talking about. I don't even know how to segue because that was good. So we were talking about Instagram and how everyone, including myself, is like, bring back chronological order. Like, enough with the BS, and you're giving us notes, and the notes with the music. Adam, who asked you that? Then they bring back, and it's edits, but I have CapCut. Why the hell do I need edits? But they tested, and I was part of the beta testing, and I did test it, and it just kind of sort of worked. Do what you will with that information.
Unleash it early.
And they unleashed it early before they were, and I was one of the early people who got to try it. So then it's like all of these things that we all want, scream for Adam to give us back with Meta and Instagram. And Tilmon made a really good point, and I hate to admit publicly that he was right. And what was that?
So hear me out. You've been telling yourself on Instagram, on your feed, that you want chronological order.
And do?
No, the hell you don't. You do not want chronological order, because if you did, Instagram would set things up in chronological order.
Touche.
You are telling the algorithm with every action that you take, hey, this is what I want. So I recently went golfing over the last couple of months, right? After I went golfing, I started to look for golf content. So what does the feed do? It shows me all of this golf content. I'm engaging with golf content. I'm saving this. I'm sharing that. I'm making a comment on this. So I'm telling the algorithm exactly what I want. So what is it going to do? It's going to feed me more of that. The only reason, the one and only reason you want chronological order is because you think it benefits you. You want the people that are following you to see your stuff. You don't care about chronological order for anybody else. You care about chronological order for you. So stop lying to yourself about what you want. You really don't want chronological order for anybody other than you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
My feelings were hurt. Because he's right. I want chronological order so people can see my content, not necessarily because I need to see other people's stuff. And anyway, I'm gonna let that one go. But here's the other thing, here's something that I want to add, and I know we've talked about this previously if you've ever heard me talk. One of the differences between myself or Tilmon and other entrepreneurs, it's not that we're special or unique. The difference is I have failed 50 times before most people make one decision and fail once. That's the only difference. Stephen Bartlett is, again, a great example of this. His team continuously is testing. Now they have an AI version of him that they're testing, and they're testing the data in which caption works, which, like, what word segments and the order of the edits. And you were telling me, like, Dan Martell does the same thing where he'll test 2 TikTok videos of the same video with 2 different copies on it, and whichever one works, great, they keep it, and the other one they kill. Here's the thing, you have to continue to test and test and test so that you can track what is working, kill what doesn't work quickly, and then double down what is working. That is the only difference between us, between great entrepreneurs, your favorite entrepreneurs, and those of you who are struggling entrepreneurs, is the fact that we are consistently and continuously iterating. We are continuously testing to find what works. I know what content works for my page. And I also know what content doesn't necessarily fit for my page, but I know is necessary. And sometimes I'm also willing to take what looks like an L in terms of data and numbers in order to get the result that I want, which is if I want to speak, I have to speak. In order to be paid to speak, people have to see me speaking. In order to be paid to go on brand trips, people have to see me doing said content that resonates with that brand. The truth is you cannot and do not have a business if you do not reiterate continuously over and over again, break the norms, be different, and continue to test so that you can double down to find out what works.
And it's not about going viral all the time.
Right.
Did I create something that converted into what I wanted to convert it to? Did enough people say this? Did enough people share this message? Was I able to generate leads for our business with the content that I created? If it didn't, the content probably sucked. But if something works, now I can scale that and then build not only for myself, but for our team and what I'm doing. But here's the truth in all of this. What I hate about YouTube, what I hate about Instagram, what I hate about TikTok is when people come on and they're just talking heads and they don't give me action to take. Because here's the reality. You don't need more ideas. You need execution. So let's give you some action to take, because the truth is clarity does not create action. It's action that creates clarity. So the first thing you want to do with your business as an entrepreneur, as a brand, as a creator is with simplifying your message. Write the offer in one sentence. What is it that you do for customers? Let's say, for instance, if my job was to create an offer, I'm going to say I help entrepreneurs create an offer within 90 days. Simple message. What can you do for people with your business to simplify that message? And to put it even on a content perspective, maybe add that thing to your bio. I help entrepreneurs create offers in 90 days.
I think something to consider is so many early stage founders and creators get stuck in the planning mode. So you will plan and plan and plan. And the truth is you convince yourself that you're being productive. Busy does not mean productive. And so what you're doing is avoiding the discomfort of doing. And here's the truth, and we say this all the time. You don't need the perfect logo. You don't need a 40-page business plan. You don't need permission, and you don't need proof of concepts. You need customers.
The second one, I want you to talk to 5 people this week. If you go to a networking event, talk to 5 people. If you're doing outreach, at least talk to 5 people. So for instance, actually, in addition to not just talking to 5 people, I don't want you to think reaching out on LinkedIn is talking to 5 people. I want you to have 5 conversations, like 5 legitimate conversations that can move your business forward. 5 conversations where you're sharing with people the problems that you solve. 5 legitimate conversations where you're speaking to people about the struggles that the most people that you work with are dealing with. Hey, I talk to presidents of companies all the time. Here's what they're typically struggling with. What of those 3 things do you find the most common in your business right now? I will frame it a little bit different probably, but I'm speaking in a very generic way. Talk to 5 people this week so you can help them move their business forward. So create your offer or write your offer in one sentence. The second thing is talk to 5 legitimate people. The third thing is make a messy MVP. Sarah, why don't you talk about MVPs?
You don't need a website. You don't need the greatest funnel. You just need a phone. You need a Stripe link or a Square link. You need a Google Doc. You don't need the perfect package to get someone results. And when we're saying MVP, sometimes we think, I know there's a beauty brand that we had worked with previously where she launched with like 22 SKUs. Girl, what is your MVP? Let's focus on 3 products, test those 3 products, figure out what your customer base is saying, and sell that damn product. You don't need 22 SKUs in order to figure out what's going to work for your customers because you wanted it to look perfect with the fancy, shiniest, sparkly website that didn't work anyway because it wasn't the right website for her clientele base. It wasn't right for her customer base. So you need to make a messy product. It's fine if it's not perfect. Again, we talked about you're going to iterate, you're going to scale, you're going to test anyway. You get to choose and you get to evolve the product. You get to change the packaging. Poppy did that when they first launched. They had a different name and a different packaging. They brought an investor in who said nope and changed it. And that was okay. But what they did have was a messy MVP that worked and led to a $1.3 billion sale to Pepsi. So when we tell you to get out and get away from the content is not enough. The emails that you're sending is not enough. You need to be meeting people face to face. The art of connection has changed. The art of conversations have changed. People are looking to connect and converse before they spend their money. Even when you're looking to collaborate with folks, it's not enough to just send a DM. It's not enough to just create content. Ask them, what have you done that's not working? And people want to talk about that. I think we think that people want to gatekeep, but they truly want to talk about what's not working for them. What problem can I solve for you? And it's not from a use perspective. It's what value can you give to these 5 people that you want to meet. When you're going to a networking event, and I talk about this all the time, if the only people you talk to are your friends, you're an effing idiot. Talk to 5 other people. Create a list. Know 5 people that you want to talk to. Are they attorneys? Are they copywriters? Are they content creators? Are they influencers? And yes, there is a difference between the two. Are you looking to meet other founders in the same industry? Are you looking to find a mentor? The hardest part about finding a mentor isn't the people, it's the time. But people won't give you that time unless you converse and meet with them and talk. Take people out to coffee. Daniel Priestley talks about this a lot. In the early stages of his company, he didn't have the money to do stuff. So he would just take people to lunch, or he would take people to dinner. He would meet with them for coffee and have face-to-face conversations about the problems that they were having. And that's how he was able to excel, create the network that he needed, raise the money for his company, and then also build his clientele base because they were the very people he was talking to.
So taking a step back, write your offer in 1 sentence. 2, talk to 5 legitimate people this week, have 5 legitimate conversations. 3 is make a messy MVP. And then 4 is documenting everything. So it's getting back to, again, that disruption framework, making the messy MVP. And then you want to make sure that as you go out, you're documenting everything. Document your struggles, document your failures, because people want to see that you're human. Even with what Sara and I are doing, there could be 12 people who watch this. But the reality is now it's going to be documented along the journey of us having these conversations, us connecting with people, us sharing, hey, this didn't work. This actually did work. Here's why you should do this instead of that and build differently. So do you want to share a little bit to that?
I do, and not to make this one personal, but again, we're talking about, documenting everything. Something that I have thought about even from the early parts of my career is I wasn't just making content, I was documenting my journey. I have evolved, again, like I mentioned before, several times over. And so the people who have followed me from the beginning have seen 6 different versions of me. I was married, I was divorced, I have 2 children, I'm a special needs mom. And I think about my boys, and something that I've done behind the scenes is I knew that one day, and I'm saying this publicly now because I used to love mystery and building quietly and secretly, but the truth is, one day when I sell a company for $100 million, or when I sell for $1 billion and I create a unicorn, I want to know that there was a documentation so that when my future documentary comes out, when they talk about me 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 50 years from now, and there's a documentary on my life, it is all documented. I know that if there's a 7-year-old Sara out there, if I know there's another mom out there, a special needs mom, a single mom, a divorced mom who feels like she's failed in life, or she feels like she's in the trenches at the bottom or at her worst, I know that there is something that could potentially in future be an inspiration to someone else. Even in the season that I'm in right now, I lost my son this year. That was not on my bingo card for 2025. It's not something that any parent wishes. But I want Jeremiah, my son, to know that there's a documentation of how much I loved both of them and how I built for both of them, and that my words and my life and the love that I have for either one of them, one in my heart and one in my hands, that there is a documentation that my children can see, that he can see years from now, that he has something to point to as to why my mom worked that hard, or I'm really proud of my mom, or my mom was a badass. I want to be able to show him that he can build this as well. And even in the midst of my grief, and as much as I want to hide it and not tell anyone about the journey that I'm on, while I'm publicly building BYOB, while we're publicly building Mayvrix, and we're working with our clients, it's not that I'm broken, my heart is just broken. And that's okay. I can still build through that. So for a mom or a parent, a father who's watching this, who is trying to decide, do they have to choose their children or their family, or building their purpose, you can do both. You can build your calling and have a family. You can be going through grief and also still build and still live. And maybe these words are more so for myself than even for someone else in this season of my life right now. But I am documenting so that I have proof to show myself, even my future self, like, hey, I did it.
Yeah, I'm not following that. So I'm going to let you share number 5.
Number 5 is to build, test, improve, repeat. Don't overthink your decision. As I mentioned earlier, by the time most people make one decision, I have made 50 or 100. Just build it, test it, improve it, repeat.
So to that end, I want you to think about this. as you build, test, improve, and repeat, you're not building a castle.
No.
You're building a bridge that's gonna help people get from where they are to where they wanna go. You don't have to overcomplicate any of this. Your problem is here. You are the bridge to help people get across to find what it looks like on the other side. You don't have to build the castle. In fact, the castle can be built later on.
Right.
Start right now building the bridge, helping people understand the framework to get from where they are to where they want to go. Once you identify that and you solve a problem for people, now you're in business. Now you can have more conversations. Now you can create a space for the people who look like the person that was here. I'm creating these testimonials to help you get across this bridge. And I'm building the solution consistently. I'm constantly iterating. I'm constantly making my thing better. If you can identify those things, if you can build in that way, the money that you can make as a result of that, I'm telling you, it's out there. But you have to start with the problem that you're solving for people and stop waiting for all of these things to perfectly align for yourself. I did that. I know Sara did that.
I did.
Things are never going to perfectly align. You have to create some momentum for yourself. Action creates clarity. Clarity does not create action. You're going to spend so much time overanalyzing, overthinking, believing that, oh, if I do all of these things, I'll finally be ready to launch my business.
Nope.
Oh, if I do all of these things, I'll finally be able to get some investors. Oh, if I do all of these things, I'll finally find the perfect girl who I've been waiting on forever. It's not going to happen like that, bro. You have to take action, because besides all of that, you will just keep waiting. You will keep telling yourself this overcomplicated idea of what you feel like the world looks like. Just start, take action. And from that action, clarity will come, because through persistence, through consistency, through action, that's how all of this is built.
So we said all that to say, start now. Your future customer doesn't need you to be perfect. They need you to be present and useful.
Again, this is Built Different, where we talk about how businesses are built and what you can do to build differently. We'll see you on the next one.